Well, welcome to another episode of Fantasy Fastlane. I'm going to call it the self-proclaimed #1 show to help you with your NASCAR Fantasy Live lineup and your props bet lineup in 2019. And once again, we're here in Charlotte. Last week, we were at the Streamline Hotel on location in Daytona Beach, but now we've come up to the Charlotte studio and for some reason invited back Statman Russell. So, Russell, last week was week 1. You were at the bar. You had your computer. You looked a little nervous. Are you more comfortable on the couch?
I'm a little more comfortable on the couch, but my picks last week weren't the greatest.
I tried to tell you that last week on the video, but you didn't hear me. Silence.
That's true.
You know what? Silence is golden. I want to jump right into Daytona. We're going to come to how you ended up doing in your picks. I was somewhere in the top 1,000, which you never want to think that the top 1,000 is the goal, but truth is, you know, there's a lot of players in a speedway race, unpredictable. We saw the accidents, so I ended up around 860th. You were?
3,000 something?
I would just say bad.
Bad.
You get over 3,000. But let's dig into so surprises. Let's talk about Daytona. We said Denny Hamlin was going to be good. He was good. He won the race, 45 total points. Any other big shocks from Daytona?
Well, all but 3 cars were in an accident, so that just throws everything up there.
That's a shock. After seeing the 150s, we saw single file. The race itself was, I don't want to say nothing like I expected. I didn't know what to expect. But right away, we saw the double file line work like lap 3 of the race. So it was, in my mind, a great race. Nobody loves to see the accidents, but it was still a great race.
Right, and we saw the Toyotas and Chevys get together and break up that Fords, and I think that's why we had those 2 lines.
Now, wouldn't you love to have been like a fly on the wall where the Toyota guys and the Chevy guys, I saw a quote Denny Hamlin said it was odd on Saturday night texting the Hendrick crew chiefs about pit strategy. That had to be fascinating. I wish I was still there. I would have loved to sit in that meeting.
So that never happened when you were at Hendrick?
No, we never. Not that much. But you know what I've learned about Rick Hendrick is very simple, right? You got to remember, he's a guy that had 2 insurance companies at the same time on 2 separate cars. So if any wheeling and dealing can be done, the car dealer is the guy you want to go to. So, yeah, that was pretty fascinating. Denny Hamlin, like as I mentioned, winning. But there's some other names that jumped out. Everyone got in a wreck. So I have to look at the finishing order because when I think of Jimmy Johnson, a guy we talked about earlier in the week, was in the accident in the Clash, ran Kyle Busch over in the 150s, was in an accident at Daytona, then ended up back inside the top 10. So, I mean, a decent points day.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, 33 points is a decent day. But I think, once again, we saw what stages do. Ryan Blaney is the guy I'm going to point out. So he finished 31st in the Daytona 500, yet still scored 22 points because he had 16 points in the stages. I think that's really the key. When I look at speedway racing now, there's so many unknowns in that final stage when it comes to accidents. It's good to be aggressive early and try to score those stage points.
Yeah, and you look at Stenhouse. Even though he finished back in 13th, he had 39 points. So it's, you know, he was aggressive early, and that paid off for him as well.
Well, and he was aggressive late. That didn't pay off for him as well. I like how you forgot about the aggressive late, but it's really his 3-wide move of the 42 and the 4 that kind of caused one of the big wrecks.
Yeah, and he was my top finishing guy, so that's why I had to bring him up.
So did you never went to the garage? So let's talk about it. So self-admittedly, you weren't a big Fantasy Live player last year. You're on board this year. And just to be clear, you're working during the race.
Correct.
So what is your take of the garage? Did you have any consideration? I mean, all the accidents were in the final stage.
So I was good until the last 10 laps, so that's why I didn't go to the garage. I had Logano in my garage, and it wasn't like he was dominating early, so I kept everybody in the race to save Logano going forward.
So I'm a big believer, this is my little hint, my hint of the day. In downforce tracks, whoever wins stage 1, if they're in my garage, I put them in because then I'm guaranteed those 10 points. So that's kind of my approach. And looking forward to Atlanta, that's something we're going to do.
Okay.
So you got to have a good strategy when you look forward to Atlanta. So that was Daytona. We're going to get into the props later because you were very confident about 10 props when we sat at the Streamlines.
I'm still confident.
Well, funny, your login must have not worked because I'm not sure you're supposed to be confident after what happened in Daytona. So that was pretty good. We're going to have a few guests today. We're going to talk props. We're going to bring RJ Kraft on board. He's a contributor at NASCAR.com. He actually knows way more about the game than me. I have a little surprise on how I'm going to make my Atlanta pick, so I'm looking forward to it. And I think we're going to jump right in and invite our first guest. We'll get RJ Kraft, contributor at NASCAR.com. He's going to join us here on the couch. Well, RJ, welcome to the Fantasy Fastlane couch. So I want to explain why you're here. I said you were a contributor to NASCAR.com, but let's be honest. You were the guy behind the other side of the camera last year when we did all those videos. You had a lot of opinions, and you basically heckled me. So now I'm bringing you out here to give your opinion straight to the fans.
I will still heckle you in front of you.
I don't buy it. I don't think you'll do it. I don't think you'll do it. So now, I don't know why this was a good idea, but now I brought Stat Guy Russell and Smart Guy RJ. I feel like I'm going to be tagged up on this, and I'm going to be the guy in trouble. But first, we revealed one successful, one unsuccessful trip to Daytona when it comes to fantasy racing. How was your trip?
I'm going to pick up right with the heckling. I was better than you.
Really?
Yes.
All right.
Not by a whole lot, but,
okay,
but a little bit.
One position is
I believe I was
enough.
in the 240s.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a lot. That's a lot
that's
better.
really good.
That's a lot better. That's a lot.
That's really good.
So
Do you
hey,
need a job?
Yeah.
What's that?
Do you need a job?
If you would like.
Yeah,
I
we'll
probably shouldn't say that on a NASCAR podcast.
We'll see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. But first, I want to talk about an article you wrote early about basically the game itself. So let's talk about the game, right? Points are awarded just like they are to the NASCAR drivers. There's some bonus picks. They are what? End of stage 1, end of stage 2, race winner.
And the pole winner.
And
as
the
well
pole
as,
winner. And
manufacturer.
listen, and let me tell you, the pole winner, easy to forget. Put a reminder in your phone because it's easy to forget to put your pole winner in.
And we'll have qualifying on Friday.
All right, so you got to get your pole winner in. And what else has been set different this year? Your lineup can save, so you can have it in every week.
If you're in multiple leagues, like I think we all are,
yes,
you can copy your lineup over
that's an A+
to the next week, which is nice, especially if you want to use most of the same lineup but maybe tweak a piece here or
a
there.
hypothetical is if you wait to the last minute because you want to see all the practice times and then you forget and you're in the booth right before an on-camera and you have to get all your lineups in, the cut and paste is going to be a great option for me.
I wonder who he's talking about.
I know. Dale Jr., Jeff Burton. I'm always prepared. And the other thing is value for the race winner has been adjusted.
Correct. It's only 10 points, just like the stage winners.
Thank goodness. That killed me last year. That killed me. So that's the game. Log on. And listen, just because you missed a week, we already heard how few points that Russell scored. Don't think that a week's going to matter. Log on. You can play against myself. I'm in the NBC pool as well as the Fantasy Fastlane League. I challenge everybody to come on there. And we're going to get into props later. But first, we talked about big surprises at Daytona. We kind of covered anybody. Was there one guy that really stood out for you in Daytona?
Ryan Preece.
Oh, that's a good name. Great name.
He finished 8th. Kind of dodged a couple wrecks there. Felt a little bit like a survive and advance sort of thing. He just kept kind of working his way. And I'll be curious how he does. I mean, we don't have a lot to go on with him off the part-time Xfinity stuff with Gibbs, so I'll be kind of keeping a close eye on him the next probably 2-3 weeks to see what we've got moving forward into like April with him.
He had the one on board that was seen around the world, Fox. It was great. The apron through 3 and 4 there to try to miss the rakes. So let's talk about Atlanta. Before we dig into the numbers, because the numbers are past history to say the least. New everything, right? New left side tire, new aero, new power, new everything. Are we going to see a new Atlanta race?
No.
So both of you think it's going to look like Atlanta's?
Well, it may look different, but the results are going to be the same.
All right.
I mean, my big thing is going back through the last 3 races, it's been very veteran-centric, the top 10. In 16, your younger guys in the top 10, only 2 of them, Elliott and Stenhouse. 17, you had Elliott and Larson, and 18, you had Elliott and Larson. The rest of it was Harvick, Busch, Truex, Keselowski, Logano, the usual suspects.
And I think that's because that's a track that so from the competition side, the smoother the track, the better the pavement, the easier it is to engineer, the easier it is to simulate. But the older the asphalt, the bumpier the asphalt, the more the driver can change how the car reacts. Very simply, if you take a car and you run it through the corner the same way, which is what happens in simulation, that's one thing. But Atlanta, you can move down 1 foot, up a foot, run around the bottom of 1 and 2. There's so many different lines. So I agree with the veteran. Now, I disagree that you guys think it's going to be the same looking race or the same results. My concern for Atlanta is I do think the restarts are going to be crazy. I think that tire fall off is always a big thing there, but it's going to take 2, 3, 4 laps for the field to spread out. I'll say a bit concerned it could cause a big accident, but I really think that all that tells me is to pay attention, watch the race, and be ready with your garage driver because a little bit like a speedway, your guy could have an issue early. So I think the best thing we can do right now, though, is jump right into Atlanta. And the first thing you have to do when you go to Atlanta is the big names. The big 3 and a couple other big names, we're going to break them down right now because with the limitations, 10 starts per year and 26 races in the regular season, you cannot start the same guy every week. So let's go driver by driver of the biggest names in the field. I mean, I think we have to start with Kevin Harvick, right? He is Mr. Atlanta. Surprisingly quiet in Daytona after being run over by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. How does he rebound in Atlanta, and is he in your lineup?
Well, he's led the most laps in the last 5 races there, almost 1,000 laps over the last 5 races there. But he's only won there twice. So he's always had some kind of trouble the last 5 races. But he's the master at Atlanta. Everybody tries to be like him. Everybody tries to follow his line. It's just you can't not have him in your lineup this week.
So here's a must start for you. Is there anything on your fancy pieces of paper that disagrees?
No.
So you're a must start. So
I'm with Russell on that. I mean, he's led 55.8% of the laps in the last 5.
So
over half.
This is one thing I will say. I agree. He's absolutely in my lineup, but let's be clear. I think he's going to have another stellar year. So trouble, maybe he's having a bad day, maybe he has a bad pit stop. If there's anything early that doesn't tell me he's like a top 2 or 3 car, if I'm not looking at a top 3 finish, then Kevin Harvick's going to come out of my lineup, and I'm going to be putting my driver or my garage driver in just because I want to save starts. I have seen nothing that's going to eliminate Kevin Harvick as a dominant driver in the field. When we talk about domination, maybe not at Atlanta, but another huge name, Kyle Busch.
I'm kind of going to take the approach you're taking with Harvick with Kyle Busch. He has not really been a dominant car at Atlanta. He's the percentage of him on top 10s. He's got 7 in 20 starts there. That spooks me a little with him because he is a guy that I expect to run well most weeks, and I want to make the most of those 10 starts. So I'm probably going to keep him on the sideline for this one.
No? Yes? Where are you staying on Kyle Busch?
So you really aren't going to start Kyle Busch?
I am really not going to start Kyle Busch.
This is great because now I don't have to do anything. Listen to you two argue.
So he's won 8 times at Atlanta across NASCAR.
But I'm specifically talking about Cup.
Yeah.
But that's fine. It's the same track. He's been top 10 in 4 of the last 6. And this package more relates to him, but being that the cars are going to be closer together with the Xfinity. It's more of an Xfinity, keep your momentum up, and who's the domination guy in Xfinity? It's Kyle Busch. I think he's another must start.
So this is where I stand on it. I have him in my lineup early in the week, but I'm going to watch practice, and I'm going to see. He's going to have to prove to me, so I'm a big believer. I worked at Hendrick Motorsports for many years, and I saw the big cycle of NASCAR, right? The biggest fear is when you had it figured out and you were good, who was going to come knock you off your throne? And that's my concern with Joe Gibbs Racing. They have been so good for so long. Can it continue? I don't know. We're going to see. I mean, it's hard to not start Kyle Busch at Atlanta. I'm on the fence. I'm going to check practice speeds and see. So he is a potential start. I'm not completely in yet. I'll let you two argue about that. This one here, I know where you stand. So for you guys that don't know, Mr. Stat Guy right here, he's a big Martin Truex Jr. fan. So just go ahead and say yes.
I'm a big Cole Pearn fan.
Okay, well then just go. Are you going to start Cole Pearn and Martin Truex Jr.?
No.
Oh, boy. No? Why not?
I'm going to save him for later in the year. I still think it's early with them.
So you haven't really blown my mind much, but that's the smartest thing I've heard in 2 shows so far with you.
So it's still early with them in the Gibbs thing, even though there hasn't been a lot that's changed. He's never won at Atlanta. I think we got to just hold off on him for right now. There's a lot of other mile and a half and other tracks that he's going to be more of a must start than right this week.
I've got him in.
I like this. I like this.
I've got him in. He's got the 4th best average running position in the Loop Data era, and he's on a stretch of 6 top 8s in his last 7 starts there, dating back to when he was at Waltrip. So I realize we're kind of flying opposite on Kyle. Your approach with Truex is kind of my approach with Kyle Busch.
Exactly.
I want to save him for like Phoenix, Richmond, Bristol, all that stuff.
All right, so quick update. The Big 3, when it comes to the Big 3, it seems very simple. Everyone likes Kevin Harvick. We're split here on the couch about Kyle Busch, split about Martin Truex Jr. I'm not split. I'm going to have all 3 in my lineup because I had an okay Daytona. I'm not going to save starts for later in the year. I'm going to attack early, try to get a lead. So I'm going to have all the 3 of the Big 3 in my lineup heading to Atlanta. But that's just who I am. So let's talk some other big names, right? I don't think you could talk big names without talking about, we'll just call it Team Penske. Let's talk about the 2 that have championships. Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano. Remember, Russell, you only get 10 starts. You only get 5 guys and a garage driver. I have you on Kevin Harvick. I have you on Kyle Busch. No on Martin Truex Jr. Leaves a few more slots. Are either of Keselowski or Logano going to take a slot in your lineup?
It's a yes on Keselowski. Top 2 last 2 races there.
Okay, all right.
And it's a no on Logano.
Okay.
Just to save him. Purely to save him. There's no other reason.
So I'm going to jump in here. One thing I like about Brad Keselowski is I feel that this rule package is going to be very different. I think Atlanta and Las Vegas might as well be a flat track and a 5-mile track. They're going to be nothing alike, even though they look alike. I think it's going to come down to tire wear, tire speed, how the cars fall off. And I think when you look at it, Las Vegas, Michigan, some of these tracks later in the year, it's going to be track position And I put Paul Wolfe at the top of the list. So for that reason, I'm not going to have Brad Keselowski in Atlanta because I'm going to save Brad Keselowski. I think he's going to be stronger later down the year.
I'm with Russell. I've got Keselowski in. He's got, we talked a lot about Harvick, but he's got a better average finish over the last 3 at Atlanta than Harvick. He's got the tops in the series.
So an interesting thing, let's jump into strategy real quick. Would you ever have stage winners who aren't in your lineup?
Later in the year, absolutely. Probably because I'll be up against it use-wise.
So you're all in. So you're telling me Harvick or one of your main guys, you're going to have them stage winners, race winner.
I mean, if we were picking it right now, yeah, I'd probably have Harvick across the board.
Okay, all right.
I have Harvick winning both stages.
And split on Team Penske. Well, I think that's fair. So there's one other driver that I think is a must-start for me in Atlanta. We haven't touched on him yet, and that's Kurt Busch. So when I look at Kurt Busch, top 10 in the last 3 Atlanta races, you talked at the top of the show about experience. He has as much or more than most everyone in the field. Only a few names have more Atlanta starts than Kurt Busch. I think he is excited to be in his new organization at Chip Ganassi Racing. I know that there's a little bit of how are the Chevys going to run and what's going to be like, but I think he's emerging as, I don't want to say a leadership role, but as a veteran role. All the audio I'm hearing out of that camp, whether it's with the crew chiefs or the drivers, keep talking about Kurt, bringing good sound advice to the meetings. And I think, Kurt Busch has an up and down career, up and down weekends, right? We all do. He's an emotional guy. I think he's going to keep his emotion in check being at the new organization. And that's actually why I'm kind of going to front load my starts with Kurt Busch. So I have Kurt for sure in my lineup.
I feel like you're stealing my notes.
Well, that's good.
I had him as well. I mean, tied for third most points in the last 3. 7 top 8 finishes, the past 9 starts at Atlanta.
No concern about being in a Chevrolet this year.
No.
I'm kind of the same way. I think I have less concern about the Chevrolet because the rules package, I don't really care what brand of body they're in. I think every team is trying to figure it out, and we learned nothing at Daytona because it's totally different.
Yeah, I don't have Kurt Busch in mind just because of the Ganassi factor. I need a little more to make sure that they're more on the same page than just one race.
Well, and this is why our man Russell was outside the top 3,000, and you and I, veteran Fantasy Live players, were inside the top 1,000. So when I look, those are all my big names, the must-starts. But I think there's some guys we have to touch on that had good Daytonas. So you have to start with the Daytona 500 champion. Denny Hamlin came off a milestone day, his second win in the Great American Race, 2-time Daytona 500 champion. So the question is Denny Hamlin in your lineup? Can he get over the media tour, the celebration, the highs and lows? Is it pressure off or pressure on for Denny Hamlin after winning the Great American Race?
Well, you just said it, that he's going to be still on this hangover from winning the Daytona 500.
So you say hangover negative.
I say hangover negative, only won back-to-back twice in his career. He's more of a sporadic win kind of guy. He's not.
And by sporadic, 0 last year.
Right.
I mean, he didn't win. For the first time in his career, he went winless. I'm not sure there was a bigger – I mean, I guess there is Jimmy Johnson. There's other names that would have been huge wins in Daytona. But with J.D. Gibbs mixed in there, the emotional win for Joe Gibbs Racing, rarely do you say a guy's won his 32nd time. And yet I think the whole field was somewhat okay with it. I think no one wanted to see Denny Hamlin win. But when they did, what JD did for Joe Gibbs Racing, emotional win. So let's talk about emotion. You win the biggest race of the year. Can you gather it back up? Does that emotion carry you through Atlanta, or does it hurt you in Atlanta?
I think it probably hurts him a little bit, and you figure the crew may have lost a little bit of time getting ready for that. I know Gabe Hart talked a little bit about how he thought he was going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball.
As they should, Monday morning.
But
they better be getting their rings, right? Monday, that's what you do. You stay and get your ring. Congratulations.
I mean, my big thing with Hamlin is since he won there in 2012, the Atlanta numbers just aren't good. I mean,
I like how you said that because I have a whole list, and that's the easiest way to do it is I have Denny Hamlin as an avoid. It's not even a consideration. Forget the Daytona 500. However he ran there, his Atlanta numbers tell me not yet. I have to see more out of Denny Hamlin in this team. And then Daytona, in my mind, it's only a negative in a week. It's going to be great in 2 or 3 weeks because, hey, he's locked in the playoffs. They're going to be gambling the whole 9 yards. But as they should be flying around the country celebrating. It is a career day. No doubt. Denny Hamlin, the Daytona 500 is a must-avoid. How about his teammate? Let's talk Eric Jones. We heard a fellow crew member here at Fantasy Fastlane had Eric Jones in. They made a change in the garage. It was a costly change. Eric Jones recovered to finish third in the Daytona 500. In my mind, he is Kyle Busch-esque. He's almost Kyle Busch, like mini Kyle Busch or Kyle Busch Jr. He's his own man, but their driving style is so similar, but yet somehow he lands on my avoid list. Kyle Busch's number is so great. Is Eric Jones an avoid for you?
He's actually one of my sleepers for the week.
Ooh,
average finish at 12.5, 26 points in his 2 Atlanta starts. I think that's a solid body of work to build off for a young guy, and we talked about earlier how the more experienced drivers seem to find their way to the front here, and I think I would expect a slight uptick in performance out of him. So he's on my watch list.
What says you?
I would agree with what RJ said. This package could really benefit him as well because we saw he's really good in an Xfinity car. So I like him as an option to look and see.
All right, so my must avoids are options for both of you. I don't know if that makes me feel comfortable or
Oh,
concerned.
I didn't say Denny was an option for me.
Oh, wow.
I was a no on Denny.
No, but I'm talking Eric Jones. I mean, I'm starting to get a little concerned. I had both of those on my avoid list. So, listen, we can't not talk about Jimmy Johnson. Denny Hamlin got the monkey off his back, but the other guy that went winless in 2018 was Jimmy Johnson. Comes back, wins the Clash. I'm trying to figure out a nice way to say that the Clash doesn't matter for a driver that has won 7 championships, but I think we saw some excitement by winning the Clash, but it's not a points event. It doesn't count. Kevin Mendering, big fan of Kevin Mendering on the pit box. I think we differ on this, so where do you stand on Jimmy Johnson?
I'm an avoid on Jimmy Johnson.
I knew we were going to differ. That's why I let you go first. You?
I want to see some more.
I don't want to see any more. I have Jimmy Johnson in. All the numbers say don't play him. My gut, this is why we're up here. You're the numbers guys. My gut tells me that Kevin Mendering, brilliant on top of the pit box. Jimmy Johnson, excited for that leadership role in that race team. Chad had that for so much time. I think just by chance he's going to be the leader, right? Kevin's not an outspoken guy. I expect Jimmy Johnson to come out of the box at Atlanta and be great. Now, make a note. I'm going to watch practice, and if he's not very good in practice, I won't. But sitting here before cars go on the racetrack, Jimmy Johnson is going to be in my lineup when it comes to Atlanta. So I think we talked about all the big guys. We got all the Joe Gibbs Racing guys. We've talked a little bit Stewart-Haas, really almost all of Team Penske. Let's talk the Team Penske kind of. Paul Menard, solid speed weeks. Unfortunately, was involved. Is that a polite way to say involved in one of the big accidents? And by involved, I mean kind of his, not on purpose, but I think he kind of created one of the big ones on the back. Is there anything that shows you that Paul Menard is going to be a standout?
No, he was a good pick last week, but didn't work out. But this week, let's wait till Talladega.
All right.
I'll give our listeners and viewers a little bit of a tease. I like him as a sleeper next week.
Next week?
Next week. Vegas numbers are pretty good
don't
there.
Don't get ahead. I can't work
I'm just
a week
saying,
ahead.
Giving him a little tease.
All right, I can't
teasing him up for next week.
I can't work a week ahead. All right, so we've hit a lot of the big names, but listen, as a player of NASCAR Fantasy Live, it's not about the big names. You have to have them in when they win, but I found last year if you're going to score points, you have to score with sleepers. With a limitation of only 10 starts, you have to use other drivers in the field. So I think the best way to use those other drivers is let's just go through them. We're going to move through these guys now. We're going to go through them, and because of this, I got a little present for you guys. Because of the rule change, because of everything that's going down in Atlanta, I think your notes are about as valuable as this Magic 8 Ball. So this thing right here is going to help me set my driver lineup when I look at Atlanta, and I'm going to put it on you guys. We're going to go through them. Let's start with Austin Dillon.
I like him. He was really good at the test in Vegas in this package, and he's another good Xfinity guy, Xfinity champion. I like him as a good pick.
No. Just no.
Just no. I like a just no.
Now why?
I want to see a little bit more out of the RCR camp, just in general, especially on the non-plate tracks.
All right, so let's stick with RCR. Daniel Hemrick.
I like him again.
No.
For the same reason I just said before about Austin Dillon.
Okay, listen. I like Daniel Hemrick. He's a nice guy. But you guys know me. I'm as blunt as they can be. He has yet to win anything. He has not won an Xfinity in cars that I think could have won. He could have closed the deal. I think Daniel's a nice guy. I think the jump to Cup racing is not small. I think he would have been better served in the Xfinity level. I think he's going to get a little bit of what I call the William Byron treatment, which William Byron's very talented, but when they dropped the green last year, everyone knew William Byron was a new guy, and they ran him over, moved him out of the way, and could care less. And I think Daniel Hemrick's going to get some of that from the veterans. It's blood in the water when they drop the green on Daniel Hemrick in Atlanta. I hope he proves me wrong. He's a nice kid, but he's going to have to prove me wrong before he sees my
But I didn't say
lineup.
he's going to win. I just said he was a good value pick.
I'm going to say no. He's not even a good value pick. I don't have Daniel Hemrick on the lead lap or inside the top 25. I mean, Sundays are tough. Just ask Who should we go through the list? Bubba Wallace. Let's talk about him. Let's talk about William Byron. I mean, let's talk about some of these guys that had – I mean, it has been an absolute battle. Jamie McMurray last year. Like, what you have done doesn't matter on Sundays. These guys are ruthless, and that's why we all watch. You sounded like you were in my boat.
I'm in your
I mean, you
camp
were
on
knocking all RCR. So if you weren't taking Austin Dillon, I figured you weren't taking Daniel Hemrick.
Hemrick, I'm a little more intrigued by, but kind of like when we talked about Priest earlier, I kind of want to see a little more before I kind of shift one way or the other over the next couple of weeks on him.
So I figured.
But this rules package brings them closer together.
Nope.
RCR brings RCR closer together.
Nope.
Yes.
You and I are fundamentally going to disagree with that. They will at Las Vegas, but not in Atlanta. I think Las Vegas and Atlanta, their mile-and-a-half tracks, 1 mile will be on Saturn, 1 mile will be on Jupiter. These are going to be so totally different that I don't think they're going to race anything alike at all.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see. I like where there's a little disagreement. All right, so this one right here, fan favorite, Georgia boy. 3-time winner last year, carried the banner for Hendrick Motorsports, kind of continues the banner. You know, listen, not at Daytona, right? William Byron on the pole, Jimmy Johnson gets a win, and I think that's okay. I don't think this guy needed to have a great Daytona. I think he's going to have a great year. I look at Chad Knaus. So I spent some time with Chad in Daytona real quick. Saw him in the garage here. Him and I are great friends. Go way back. He was having fun. Let me tell you guys, when Chad Knaus has fun, that's bad for everyone else. He looked like he was having fun. I think there's I don't know, just fresh, right? Moving into a new house, just fresh paint, fresh cabinets, fresh carpet. He was excited. So I think that William Byron's going to have a good time at Atlanta, and I think because of that, Chase Elliott is going to be great. I think Chase Elliott and Alan Gustafson have a great opportunity to lean on their teammates. I have Chase Elliott running really well.
Chase is borderline must start for me.
So he's that good.
Yeah.
He's almost a must start.
He's one of 4 drivers to be in the top 10 of the last 3 Atlanta races. I think in past years, because it's been his home track and he hadn't won, I think there was a little more added pressure there. Now that he's got the wins, I think he's got that monkey off his back.
Oh, he's on my must-pick list.
So he's a must-pick.
He doesn't know how to finish outside the top 10 there. He's never finished outside the top 10 there in anything.
Man, I like where you're at on this.
So, and his dad won 5 times there. Like, he just knows he should be good there.
How good? I mean, are we ringing the siren at the pool hall? I mean, is this thing going? I have as a siren. What do you call it?
Well, they call it the siren down there.
Yeah, but I don't live there.
Okay.
I'm a North Carolina guy.
So I think he's a top 5 guy.
All right. That's pretty solid. Well, if we're talking Chase Elliott, I'm putting him as one of my practice watches. I mentioned Chad Knaus, William Byron. Thoughts?
Practice watch.
So I don't have him as a practice watch. Here's why. Vegas, absolutely. But you said it. Young drivers in Atlanta don't run great. Even with the most veteran crew chief, Chad can't drive and he can coach. And I think William Byron will be better at Atlanta after a race with Chad Knaus, but I'm not sure the benefit will happen right away.
So he finished 18th last year, which is the highest he ran all race. Like, he is not I think we got to wait on him. Like, Chad can't teach him how to drive at Atlanta.
So here's the problem I have. When you say wait, you mean to see practice or wait for like another race?
We'll wait another race.
Okay, you're with me then. Because I was going to say I'm not sure what I could see in practice that would move him up the list. All right, let's go to Eric Almirola. 2018, big bounce back year.
He's one of my, I kind of like him as a plug and play. I would want to see how he is.
That's a polite way of saying no, he's not going to start.
But the guy I'm a little more intrigued on that camp is Suarez.
So I like where you're going with this.
And part of it, and granted, I realize Daytona and Atlanta, 2 different animals.
Yeah.
But past 2 seasons, Suarez only had 59 stage points, got 10 in Daytona. That shows a little growth to me, a little more running towards the front. And Stuart Haas ran very well at Atlanta last year.
And the sleeping information on Daniel Suarez is look how good he ran in the All-Star race.
So he won the Open. That's where I'm going with this.
All right.
He won the Open in the
similar beat him to his stuff.
Similar package. So I have him as a good value pick.
All right. I like a value pick. So listen, the name we haven't said, Kyle Larson. And we haven't said it one time. I've been through a lot of guys. So I can give you a list of names that I like the rule package for. Daniel Suarez is on the list. Better for him. Eventually better for William Byron. A little bit better for Austin Dillon. Going to help them. concerned about Kevin Harvick. It's not going to knock him off the must-have list, but I don't think he's going to be as good all year. I'm talking.
Who won the All-Star race last year?
Hey, I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you. You work on the stats. I'll work on my opinions.
Okay.
I'm concerned for Kyle Larson. He comes from root and gouge, stop and go, hammer the cushion, a lot of power, dirt cars. His success in Xfinity was more in most recent years when their downforce levels have dropped. Unlike Kyle Busch from years before. I could be completely wrong. Maybe Kyle Larson will come out and dominate, but he's a wait and see for me for the 2019 season because just that, I don't know if it fits his driving style. He could go out and go on a tear and prove me wrong, but as of right now, I haven't seen it.
You don't think this track suits his driving style,
If
though?
you're ever going to put him in, it would be this one, but no.
Right.
There's listen, we've listed so many, but I mean, how many must starts? You can only put in 5. You got 12 must starts.
Okay.
So, no. So, I'm leaving Kyle Larson out.
I like his teammate a little better this weekend.
So, and here's the thing. There's 26 races. I don't think Bristol's going to be much different. And Kyle Larson better be in your lineup at Bristol. I mean, I could go through the list where Kyle Larson is outstanding. Richmond, he seems to always run good at Richmond. You know, Pocono is another one that you have to figure out your lineup. So I think there's a little bit of strategy. And plus, my Magic 8 Ball says – it says for sure, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But maybe it's agreeing with me. Maybe for sure I'm right.
I don't think you can write him off like you have.
All right, the last ones, let's just talk JTG, Doherty Racing in general. Opinion?
I want to see a little more from Ryan Preece. I need a little bit more of a body of work before I.
Plus,
but I do think there is potential to sneak him in a couple places.
Plus, he's a short track ace in my mind. I know that's unfair to label him already, but I think he's more of a short track ace.
Well, that's where he came from, so that's what he's used to. I like him as a short track guy. I think we'd stay away from both of Buescher and him at Atlanta.
Well, the advantage this year on NASCAR Fantasy Live is it's just not a year-long fantasy game. It's also a every-week fantasy game with the Props Challenge. Russell here told me how great he was going to do at Daytona. He's going to go 10 for 10. I'll give you a little sneak peek. He didn't. Actually, I beat him. We're going to call that major applause. But up next, we're going to bring in Christian, the props guru. He's going to tell us what are props available for Atlanta. We're going to relive Daytona and see just how everyone did fare. All right, prop master Christian. I only say Christian because your last name is?
Bochicchio. Yeah, that's a tough one for you.
You want to give that a shot or no?
I wouldn't expect anyone
No, I'm Christian.
Okay, Christian. Yeah. So listen, I actually have a little challenge to the – go ahead and tweet me. So this is Stat Guy Russell and Prop Guy Christian, but if you think Prop Guy Christian needs a new nickname, it's going to be a long year. We're going to hear from a lot. Let's talk about this prop challenge. I'm a big fan. So everybody knows I'm a little ADD. I move along pretty quick. I can grind through 26 weeks just because I want to beat all my buddies in the league. But I love that there's a weekly event. The props challenge, in and out, every week it changes, right?
Every week it changes. Your results from one week don't carry over to the next week.
Thank goodness for you.
Yeah. Why? I'm even, man.
No. We'll
and for me, too. I mean, you bested us. We'll get that one right out.
So to review how it is, every week, 10 prop bets. But it's not just how many you get right because, I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but it's a genius idea. You don't have to play 10.
Correct.
Everyone you get right, you get a point.
Correct.
But everyone you get wrong, you lose a point. So just a quick math review. If you chose all 10, like Russell did, and you go even, which is 5 right and 5 wrong, how many points do you end up with?
Was 0, but it's 50%. 50%.
0 is what that is. He ended up with 0.
Yeah, we're not giving away prizes based on percentages, so it's that total points that you're going to want to try to play for.
I knew you were going to fit in. This is spectacular. So so let's talk about strategy. You went for all 10. 5 right, 5 wrong, right? So you got 0 points. I know I'm going to continue to say that, but 0 points. I went with all 10 as well. 7 right, but I got 3 wrong, so I only ended up with 4 points. So if you would have only played the 5 you got right, you would have beat me. I'm a little disgusted with myself because I had a sure thing with the over on William Byron. I said it was going to be a sure thing. I went against it, and I was proven wrong. I wish somebody would have let me know that there was this Toyota-Chevy agreement because that would have put William Byron leading some laps.
But your logic was wrong. You said he's going to lead the first 24 laps.
Oh, so now we're going to worry about logic. We don't pay points on logic either, right or wrong. So that's enough. So you had a bad week as well?
I had a terrible week, the worst of the bunch, which isn't good. Not only do I need a new nickname, but I may be looking for a new role.
You weren't in the negatives
on the show after.
Did you go negatives?
I was on the negatives. I played all 10.
The 0 looks pretty
good.
good.
I hit 4 right, 6 wrong, and I very quickly realized that there may be some strategy and gamesmanship to this after all, because I know you were bullish on playing 10 every week.
Yeah, that's right.
But we've seen quickly how those wrong picks can really take you down the ladder in a hurry.
But here's why I'm bullish. A bunch of people played. Thousands of people played.
Yeah.
3 perfects.
3 perfects. That was it.
So listen, if you play 9 and get 9 right, you're going to lose to 10 for 10. So I think you play all 10, unless, of course, you have a little side action with your buddies, and maybe it's a strategy. And let me tell you, not that I would promote a little friendly wagering with your friends, but I do think this prop challenge is a great way to get 8 of your buddies, highest point total wins, or perhaps lowest point total buys the first round at the bar. That's actually how we're going to do it starting here, so you're going to have to get your wallet. Well, no, it sounds like you're going to have to.
Yeah. We're going week to week or overall?
No, week to week. It's week to week. There is no overall.
I know, but we could do overall.
No. We're going to make it more complicated. Okay. So let's look forward to Atlanta Prop Challenge. I'm logged in here, NASCAR.com. There's some down here. So there's one that I think is a softball. My man Russell disagrees. Will Kevin Harvick lead the most laps? Absolutely, no doubt in my mind. You somehow disagree with this?
The only reason I disagree is how hard is it to lead the most laps in 6 consecutive races at a track?
Well, about as hard as it was for 5, so I don't think 6. What is it, a magic number between 5 and 6?
It keeps getting harder and harder each time.
No, that's probability.
Well, that's all what I am. I'm a probability guy.
Don't listen to him. So how about any easy ones? Come on, Chris.
I mean, I think there's some easy ones. I think we can run down the list as you're doing.
So
I totally agree with you on the Harvick.
So I started at the bottom. That was number 10. We'll go from the bottom because I'm backwards. Which race team member? Oh, I like this. Will the race winner be a SHR driver?
No.
I'm with him. We only have 4.
I can tell you right now.
It's a numbers game.
The question right now is who's buying the drinks next week between these two? Because they are wrong.
Listen, Steve. So you think yes, but tell me, are you essentially viewing that as you are picking Kevin Harvick to win the race? Because I think that's how I look at the question.
So I'm going to
go. I'll take the field over a single driver.
I have
no odds
4 SHR cars in the top 12.
Okay.
So I'm telling you, out of those 4 in the top 12, one of them. I think that Stuart Haas. I think Daniel Suarez could win this race. I think that Clinton Boyer could win this race. So, in my mind, I have all 4 potentially winning. So, yeah, I like my odds. They only got to beat Kyle Busch.
So, you don't think Kyle Busch could win?
I do, but that's the only guy they got to beat.
Martin Truex could win?
No.
Joey Logano could win?
No.
Okay.
I'm with you, Russell. I'm essentially looking at this as Harvick versus the field. And
I can't wait till next week.
I think this is softball. Will the winner be in the top 5? Will the winner start in the top 5? I say yes. It's a challenging track. But here's the only real question, and I'm going to wait till after qualifying to do this, is with this new package, I don't know how qualifying is going to go. This new package is a rules package we talk about. It's going to be a little bit different. They're going to be high drag, low power. I'm not sure how qualifying is going to go.
Yeah, I think you can get 9 out of 10 of these locked in before we see qualifying. Yeah. You're probably going to wait until you see those sessions before you come back and make that pick.
Man, the lead changes at 22.5. I'm taking the over. Now, this is at the start-finish line, recorded lead change.
Correct.
Yes. So I'm going to check the over because I think that the restarts are going to be crazy. I think the fans are going to have to watch, and you could see 2 or 3 different leaders each restart. So you could really stack them up.
Well, the other thing is we always see green flag stops at Atlanta, so that increases your amount of.
I didn't even think of green flag stops. That's 2 or 3, 4 right there.
So we on average, it's 4 green flag stops at Atlanta.
I hope you help. I mean, listen, you were kind of shooting these. Here's the thing, though. I had some sure things last week that didn't work.
I know. I was going to say, I'm going to double down on this. I was very confident in the over on this same category last week for the reasons that you both laid out here. Obviously didn't come to fruition in Daytona, but I'm going with it again here, especially with the new package.
So, listen, I am going to Mr. Probability angle on this. Will Chase Elliott continue the streak of his top 10s? I mean, top 10's a lot. If you'd have said it like top 6, I would have took the out. But the top 10, I think he's going to have to do it again. You don't disagree, do you?
I agree.
All right. We're together on that. Chevy has 5 drivers in the top 10 at Daytona. Over under 4.5 this week. Under.
For sure.
So
it's an under, and here's why. That and a half is very important here, I think, to really swing your decision.
I love the line sets here. The lines are great. I do agree. Eric Almirola inside the top 10. I think that's a more difficult choice than Chase Elliott. I think I had Stuart Haas 4 in the top 12. That leaves 2 spots outside the top 12. Maybe he's one of them. I'll probably take him inside the top 10 because I'm all in for the perfect 10. So I'm going to stick with that.
So you're saying Eric he's in for a top 10 finish.
Yes.
I'd agree with you here for the sake of picking a side.
Go ahead. Listen, so what you're going to learn about Russell is he huffs and puffs and sighs and moves. And right there the look was, oh, my goodness, you're wrong. Go ahead, Russell.
Well, how many times has he finished top 10 at Atlanta?
I don't know. I'm not a stats guy.
Once.
All right. How many times has he been to Atlanta and Stewart-Haas Racing Ford? No, go ahead. Answer for the people. Once. So he's 1 for 1. You can't take Richard Petty Motorsport. Like, hey, you know what stats tell you? Let me give you a little hint. A wise guy once told me, you know what stats will tell you? That 1 out of 3 pigs will build their house out of brick. I learned that in a book when I was really little. You've heard that before. That's what I say when I don't like his stats.
So when was his top 10 at Atlanta? You just assumed it was last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Well,
he finished 13th last year.
that's close enough to a top 10. He'll only get better.
Okay.
He'll only get better. But I did make that assumption. That stings a little. When was the other one?
With Richard Petty Motorsports.
My apologies to the king. How about who will finish higher, Clint Bowyer or Kurt Busch? I think this is an absolute A-plus matchup. I think Kurt Busch is going to beat him because he is so good at Atlanta. But that's a tough matchup.
It's really tough. I'm going to jump in here and say I was on the fence on this one. A little credit to you, a little credit to RJ here. I think you guys swung me over to the Kurt Busch side just because of the consistency and your lack of concern about the Chevy and the Ganassi switch.
Fantasy Fastlane. Making picks again. I like this.
I totally agree, and I think, look, there's a case to be made for Bowyer. It looks like Russell's going to jump in here and try to make it.
Yeah.
It's fine. I understand. I just think there's a little bit of recency bias with the way that we look at why you might pick Bowyer, and on this one, I'm just going to go with Kurt and the consistency he's shown at Atlanta.
There's only one reason to pick Bowyer. Stewart-Haas. Kurt beats him in everything else. At Atlanta, overall, career. So I think the Stewart-Haas thing could sway you to pick Clint Bowyer.
All right, I'll buy that. Total number of cars finished on the lead lap, 14.5. I'm taking the over. I think there's going to be enough wrecks. They're going to roll cars back on the lead lap. And then last year's winner led 181 laps. Whew. So the over-under is set at 150.5.
Look, I'm going to take the under, and I think it's a little bit of a bait and switch in the way that this prop is positioned, feeding you the fact that last year's winner led 181 laps. If you go back and look at the past few years, it's only been Harvick up anywhere close to that amount, right?
So
and he's only won one time.
So the guy that writes the props just said it's feeding you the wrong way.
I don't write the props. I'm the voice of the people here, Steve. I'm the voice of the people. Yeah.
All right. Well,
so what's your thoughts on that one? That's an interesting one.
That is an interesting one. So if you want to know the honest truth, that's an after practice choice for me. So look, I'm really not sure how these cars are going. I know after 10 laps what it's going to look like. It's Atlanta, but like when they roll off for practice, are they going to spread out 20 cars apart, or are they going to roll off there in a pack? I'm not going to. This is what I've learned in my racing career. Every time I assumed we're going to be really loose, have all these plans to tighten it up. What happens when you unload? You're tight. Like whichever way you guess, it's wrong. So I'm trying to be open-minded.
But when you watch practice, what are people supposed to look for to say that?
Okay, so here's my opinion. If they leave pit road grouped together, and in 2 or 3, 4, 5 laps they no longer can stay grouped together, which I think is going to happen. The track is too wide, the pavement's too old. It's gonna they're gonna be spread out like normal practice of 2018. If I see that, I'm taking the over. I think someone like Kevin Harvick could have a good enough car that he will lead a ton of laps. If 5, 6, 8, 10 laps into practice, you still see the second place, third place car have an advantage with the draft, then I'm taking the under because I don't think you could protect the lead. That's my insight.
That's fine, and you know all that stuff better than either of us do.
Everyone knows it now.
It's valuable insight. I think the only other thing to keep in mind is in the way that these props are positioned. Harvick is the only guy coming close to that number in terms of leading more than 115 laps each of the past 5 years. And he's only won one of those races. So, again, it's not it's for the winner. It's an over-under on laps led for the winner, which is an important part of the way the prop is set up.
And it's only happened once in the last 6 years.
All right. They've sold me. I'm taking the under. So there's basically the idea, 10 picks every week, right? No carryover, a point for the right pick, a point the other way for the wrong pick. So if you go 5 and 5, you end up with 0. If you can go negative, that's a long conversation. But most importantly, this is a weekly game. It resets every week. I like 10 picks because I think you need 10 picks. But go ahead, log on, the NASCAR Props Challenge. Challenge your buddies. Try to figure if you can get all 10 straight. It's going to be a great time. But now it's that time of the podcast. We are going to bring RJ Kraft back to the couch, and it's time for Smart Guy RJ and Stat Guy Russell to give me their lineup for Atlanta. We've broken down the drivers. We've given our opinions. That's all fine and dandy. But at some point, it's time to click the little button and set your fantasy lineup. So real quick, 5 drivers, Atlanta. Who are you having?
I got Harvick, Keselowski, Truex, Elliott, Kurt Busch.
Ooh, I like that. Pretty decent. Have you considered any garage driver yet?
I've got Eric Jones in there right now, but based on our discussion earlier, I will be keeping a very close eye on Mr. Suarez.
Bonus picks, you said Harvick heavy?
Harvick across the board.
All right, and don't forget, we don't have to give our qualifying pick in yet, but the most important thing is get your pick in before Friday qualifying in Atlanta. Little inside information, check the weather. Make sure you understand the rules if it rains out. Go ahead, your lineup. Now listen, you got to do better than last week. Really, have you considered what you're getting ready to say? Because I don't think you did. I don't think you took the gravity of the situation.
I don't think anybody realized how hard that's going to be to pick at Daytona.
Don't put extra pressure on him.
All right, go ahead.
Don't put extra pressure on him.
Who you got?
So I'm Harvick.
Yep.
Kyle Busch. Keselowski.
All right, yeah.
Chase Elliott. The one you don't like, Larson.
Okay.
And then I have Suarez in the garage for what we talked about earlier.
All right.
I like that.
And you've already said you're Kevin Harvick across the board as well.
Yes.
So does that mean both you guys are saying Ford is the manufacturer?
Yes.
Just because Harvick? Do you ever let's talk strategy real quick. Do you ever split driving the driver? If you say Kevin Harvick's going to win, do you automatically pick Ford and go for the perfect score?
I'll split it from time to time.
Okay, I'll split it as well because I try to protect some of my points.
Some of it too will depend on how some certain guys look in practice. Like if the Toyotas look pretty strong, but I really like Harvick, I may flip the manufacturer to Toyota.
I always do Ford or Toyota.
You swing for the fences.
Yes.
All right, I like that. All right, here you go. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr. Having all 3 of the big 3 in my lineup. I know you don't like it. I get it. Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott. They're my top 5. Garage driver, I'm going to have to wait and see. I'm wanting to say Kurt Busch right now is going to be my garage driver, but that's my lineup. Qualifying, I'm going to also wait and see on that. Across the board, as of right now, placeholder, I'm going to put in Kevin Harvick because I'm a big believer watching some practice times, and my manufacturer and my race-winning driver will absolutely be different. It will not be the same. I try to get a little something somewhere and hopefully don't strike out completely, get the wrong driver and the wrong manufacturer. That one completely stings. So I've done it both ways. Most important thing, though, guys, we appreciate your insight. We're going to continue to have this. So listen, if you need some help sending your NASCAR Fantasy Live team each and every week, it's the NASCAR Fantasy Fastlane podcast. It's available on iTunes. Go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review. And if you want the full version of this video, go to NASCAR's YouTube channel. The entire thing will be posted. It's always a blast. Most importantly, guys, log in and play. Tune in this week and see how you did in your Fantasy Live lineup.